Hey everybody in popular hot rodding land. Today we are here at Outlaw Motorsports in Riverside, California with Project Valiant. And today we're going to install the Reilly Motorsports Street Lynx rear suspension system. It is a 4-link, allowing you to get rid of the kind of basic, super simple leaf spring rear that has all kinds of issues with geometry and stuff. And we're going to replace it also with this strange S60 rear end, which we detailed in a recent issue. This thing has got a lot of beefcake in it. It's really strong. It's going to be able to handle all the torque from our 500-inch Indy cylinder heads wedge. And also we have some Viking double adjustable coilover shocks. So this is going to be the perfect complement to our altercation front suspension, also from Reilly Motorsports. So we're going to right now have Ron Estjen of Outlaw Motorsports show you how this thing's going to be installed. Well, first of all, you got to take off the bump stops. Now this is the upper crossbar for the Street Lynx suspension, and it's got to be welded to the frame rails of our Valiant. And what it does is locate the upper control arms, and it also is a mounting point for the coilovers. It's got to be welded right here to the frame rails on both sides, and before you do that though, you have to grind away at the frame rails. Clean it. Now it's time to put the crossbar in, and it fits right up on the frame rails, located with 2 bolts that go right where the bump stop brackets used to be. Now it's time to do the only welding operation of the installation, and that's to install the crossbar to the frame rails. Yeah, Eastwood Extreme Chassis Black. That's the best way to cover up bare metal. Well, our next move is the lower control arms, which mount to these brackets that get bolted to the frame rails. And Ron's just mocking them up here before putting them on the car to see how they all assemble. Well, we're ready to install the control arm and the bracket on the car, but one of the things we wanted to show you is this bracket right here has 2 mounting holes which will allow you to adjust the instant center on the suspension geometry. Very cool for going between road race, autocross, and drag racing. And go ahead, Ron, put that in there. We'll show the folks where it goes. It just mounts into this little boxed area right next to the frame rail. There's 4 studs built into the bracket, and you just put the bolts and the washers right on. Couldn't be easier. I didn't mention it earlier, but those 4 holes that it bolts to, that it goes through, they already exist on the car, so you don't have to put any templates up or drill any pilot holes. It literally goes right in. This is our Dana S60 rear end, and we're getting ready to put the lower control arm brackets onto the axle tubes using these U-bolts here. The brackets themselves hold the lower control arms. That's their mounting point. It's also the mounting point for the coilover shocks, and this bracket just goes right here on the spring perch that normally is used for the leaf spring. These are the coilover mounts, and they're just beautiful. It's like jewelry for your car. Beautiful billet aluminum pieces that have been machined, and they just bolt right here to the bracket. There's a couple of locations. Obviously you can control the height of it. And one of the things you'll notice is that right now the control arm bracket itself is just kind of loosely mounted on the axle. We'll actually tighten that up once it gets up to the car. The last thing we do before we put the strange rear end up underneath the car is we got to put these shock absorber studs in using a 7/8 inch wrench. That'll do the job. Now it's time to put your axle into the car. In this case, it's our strange S60. The idea here is that you want to get this thing at just the right height so you can put the control arm, the lower control arm, into the control arm bracket with these bolts right here. At this point, we want to put the axle tabs on the upper control arms, get those mocked up in the car, and put the control arms onto the cross brace so that we can see where they need to be welded onto the axle tubes. So you can see where the upper control arm mounts to the crossbar, and then here you can see where we're trying to figure out where to weld the tabs for the axle tubes. Before you weld the axle tabs, you want to make sure that you're equidistant from the center line. Obviously the wheels need to be in the wheel well the same way for both sides. So there's a little bit of tweaking that you have to do with the axle location prior to actually welding those tabs. Once you get everything located where you want, you can go ahead and weld your tabs onto your axle tubes. Now that the axle tabs are on there, it's time to snug up the U-bolts. We didn't talk about it much in our last video, but Project Valiant is getting a set of Viking coilover double adjustable shocks. And the cool thing about them is they are made in the United States, all aluminum, precision manufactured in Minnesota. Each one of the Viking shocks gets independent controls for compression and rebound. You actually have 19 separate adjustments on the shock. Each unit is serialized, custom manufactured, and comes with a 2-year warranty, made in Minnesota. We really like them a lot, and we're looking forward to getting them on the car. So Ron, why don't we get this sucker bolted on? Well, there it is. It's all installed. Took about 4 hours, including the welding. One of the cool things about a 4-link suspension, a 4-bar suspension, is that you get all kinds of tunability. In this case, you can set the pinion angle. You can also set the ride height. You can set the instant center on this particular unit. You get a lot more strength. You eliminate a lot of the characteristics that are not good about a leaf spring rear end with the rear roll steer, rear roll bind. Obviously, our Strange S60 rear gives us a lot more strength for our big block, and our Wilwood disc brakes are going to give us great stopping power while still being able to fit inside our 15-inch steel wheels. So we look forward to finishing this out. We're going to bring you the brake installation and all the details on that next. So stay tuned for more on Project Valiant.